Good morning, everyone. In this week's Torah portion, as the Jews prepare to leave Egypt, God says to Moshe, Dabru na, please speak to the Jewish people. I have one final request. They should go to their Egyptian neighbors and ask them for gold and silver. And therefore I will fulfill what I promised Abraham, that although your children will be slaves in the land of Egypt, they will go out, they will emerge, b'rechush gadol, with great wealth. The question is, why did God care about the wealth of the Jews? The main thing is to take them out of slavery, to bring them to Mount Sinai, to choose them as his nation, to lead them to the land of Israel. Why is wealth, gold and silver, so important, specifically at this juncture of leaving Egypt? We all know that when Israel was founded, there was a big debate between Menachem Begin and David Ben Gurion. And the question was, should Israel accept reparations from Germany? David Ben Gurion said, we have to. We can't establish a country. We're too desperate for their funds. We need to take the reparations. However, Menachem Begin gave a rousing speech in the Knesset and saying, how can we take money for the blood, for the lives of our family, for our men, women, and children, 6 million lives? We should not take a cent from them. Ultimately, Israel decided to take reparations. And many cars in Israel and buses are German cars because it was part of the reparations. And indeed, in this week's parsha, we find God basically saying, yes, the Jews should take reparations. In no way is this a cleansing of their guilt, absolution for their murder. No way does this mean that we are condoning what they did, but let them pay for their crimes. Because when the victim receives reparations, it's an admittance of guilt on behalf of the perpetrator. And to some extent, it can comfort and ease the pain of the victim. But there's another important mitzvah that comes from this story. Later on in the book of Deuteronomy, the Torah says when you have a servant who worked for you, when he goes free, Hanik Tanaklo, you should load him up with gifts, with presents. And our rabbis say, where do we learn this idea that when you send someone out after servitude, you give them gifts? We learn it from this week's Torah portion. That God said, let the Egyptian give you gifts. And that's why there's a severance package till today. When someone works for you for a period of time, especially if it was a lengthy period, you don't just send them off empty-handed. You give them a severance package to show them gratitude for the years of service that they provided. It's a story told about this fellow who was a contractor. He worked for this company, had a wonderful boss. He worked for 40 years. And now he's turning 65. He comes to his boss. He says, I decided, my wife and I, we're going to retire. I'm going to travel and enjoy life. His boss says, listen, you put in 40 good years. I understand, but I have a favor to ask you. I have one more house to build, one more project, and you're the best foreman. Can you do this one last job for me? He really wanted to move on with his retirement plans, but he liked his boss. His boss asked him to do one more project, so he decided to do it. He started hiring laborers and getting architects, but he was in a rush to get on with his retirement, so he rushed the process. And when he couldn't find the right laborers, he just hired whoever he can get. Couldn't get the right materials, he cut corners, substituted with other materials. Finally, after a year, the job was done. Comes to his boss, he says, okay, here's the keys to the new house that I just built. It's time for me to go on with my retirement. And his boss says, wait 1 second. He said, I actually wanted to give you a retirement gift, a parting gift. And therefore, I asked you to build one last house. Here are the keys to the house. This is my gift to you for all the years of service. And the fellow thought to himself, oh my, all the corners I cut, all the cheap labor I used, now I have to live in that house. We are in this world, but what we take with us at the end of the day is the spiritual wealth that we acquire, the time and the effort and the good deeds that we invested in this world. King Solomon says in the book of, King David says in the book of Psalms, when a person passes away, he doesn't take everything with him. And the question is, what do you mean he doesn't take everything with him? He takes nothing with him when he leaves this world. The rabbis say no. He does take something with him. He takes his mitzvot, his good deeds. The charity that he helped and gave others, what he built in this world that's everlasting, is what he takes with him. And therefore, let us remember that we are servants of God in this world, and therefore we should fulfill our duty with diligence, dedication, and devotion. Have a wonderful day.